Hello, everyone. Let's study chapter 20. So, chapter 20 is about the GI tract and its defenses. So, uh, so what is the GI tract? So, GI tract actually is a long tube from a mouth to the anus. So it has eight sections: mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. So it also contains accessory organs such as salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, pancreas. Pancreas actually is secreted the digestive juice to help the digestion. So this is a diagram of the GI tract. So the GI tract actually is the major system that to digest our food, provide nutrients. so so it has a very heavy load of food and microorganisms because the GI tract is contacting with outside environments. So the most of microorganisms exist in the large intestine. So the GI tract has its own defenses against infections. So this includes so the intestinal surface are coated with mucus, okay, and GI tract also secrete IgA to cover the surface of the all the tube. Also, the GI tract, so the muscular wall of the GI tract movement can push food and the microorganism move to anus by the action of peristalsis. Saliva actually contains the lysozyme and the lactoferrin, so those enzymes can lysis the bacteria to kill certain bacteria. Stomach fluid is very acidic, so actually most of bacteria were killed by the stomach fluid. So also the bile is also anti microbial because the bile is like a detergent, so it's very strong, so it can dissolve the plasma membrane of bacteria. Also, GI tract contains the lymphoid tissues. It's called GALT. So those lymphoid tissues contains the immune cells like T cells, B cells, and the other cells. So they can secrete IgA. They can also directly phagocyte the bacteria. So those lymphocyte tissues exist in the tonsil, in the esophagus, in the small intestine, and the appendix. So most bacteria live in the large intestine. So which of following is not considered a defense of the gastrointestinal system? I gave you 5 seconds. So the correct answer is C, okay, ciliated epithelium. Because the ciliated epithelium is a place for the digestive and absorption, right? So since the GI tract contains tons of microorganisms, actually, so those mechanisms actually are the normal beta, okay? So they don't cause disease in the healthy people. So those microorganisms are the bacteria such mice, okay, Lactobacillus, Neisseria, Prevotella, and Streptococcus, Treponema, and Veronella, and fungi is protozoa. So we also have the bacteria in our teeth, okay. So this in our mouth, actually there are tons of bacteria. So the dental plaque. So the bacteria can colonize in our teeth, okay, and generate the biofilm. So this biofilm is a very good material for all the bacteria to colonize and grow. For example, so the alpha hemolytic streptococci as the first colonizer of our teeth. So the biofilm actually is the complex material of the glycoprotein and polysaccharide. So here here is the concept of pellicle. Okay, pellicle. Pellicle is the glycoprotein carved on the tooth to for the streptococci to attach. The pharynx also contains the microorganism. Stomach. Since the stomach is since the stomach has a very tough condition for microorganisms to colonize and grow. So in the beginning, scientists thought the stomach is sterile. However, actually it's not. So certain microorganisms can live in stomach, live in the acidic environments. For example, the Bacillus, Clostridium, and Staphylococcus, can be the residents. A large intestine actually contains most of the microorganisms. So those would be the bacteroids, Clostridium, Escherichia, the Fusobacterium, Lactobacillus, and so forth, and the fungi and the protozoa. So the actually the biota has its benefit effect for our human, so it can generate the vitamins for our human to absorb. Okay, and biota also can generate the environmental condition to inhibit the pathogens, inhibit those bacteria that can cause disease. So it can actually so it can also they can be also involved in the digestion. Okay, help our digestion, provide nutrients such as vitamin K. Okay. So actually, so they also have a very important function to maintain the epithelial cell structure. So they also provide information for the immune system, so that the immune system ready for the microbe invasion. So the biota also can influence certain disease development, such as obesity and autoimmune diseases. So So other than the GI tract, actually most of our body are the steroid are the steroid and don't have the microorganism. So now let's work on this question. Which of following type of organism are not considered normal biota of the GI tract? So I gave you 5 seconds. So the correct answer is B, Archaea, okay? Archaea is a very ancient bacteria that only lived in the extreme condition of the earth, okay, such as deep sea volcanoes. Now let's talk about the diarrhea. So actually, the microorganism can cause tons of diseases. So the most common is diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea means 3 or more loose stools in each day. Okay, each day. So it's very common because so each people may so each American may have 1.2 or 1.9 diarrheas per year. Okay, so the children has has a higher prevalence than the adults. So this case will be worse in the developing country because the public health system and condition is worse in developing country. So more than 700,000 infants died from diarrhea each year. So actually, so diarrhea is very critical diseases in the clinic. Once diarrhea happens, so if diarrhea is induced by the microorganism, so the patient may also have the fever, abdominal pain, cramping, nausea, vomiting, okay, dehydration. So diarrhea, so 1/3 of the diarrhea is induced by the contaminated food, okay. So the foodborne is the major cause of the diarrhea. So the foodborne can carry the toxin, either toxin or the microorganism, to human to cause the diarrhea. For example, the E. coli O157 have the huge effect to induce the diarrhea. Okay. However, for the diarrhea, so normally we don't have to use the antibiotics because most of the diarrhea induced by toxin. So the patient will be covered by themselves. However, if the diarrhea is induced by certain microorganisms, so we have to use antibiotics. So so many microorganisms can induce diarrhea. So normally those bacteria are the gram-negative enteric bacteria. So those bacteria can be classified as H flagella antigen, okay, and K capsule antigen, and O cell wall antigen. So we can use those antigens to classify those bacteria. Many bacteria also exhibit a variety of substance. Okay, so we can use that as, to classify those bacteria. So first, let's talk about the salmonella. Okay, salmonella. So Salmonella actually can be widely found in the chicken. Okay, so 10 years ago, so 1/3 of the chicken was contaminated with the salmonella. So today, so it's still 10%. It's still high. So the chicken is a source for the salmonella. So the ducks, turkeys can also be contaminated with salmonella. Eggs can contain the salmonella because salmonella can get into the egg before the shell is calcified. Okay. So there are many types of these type of bacteria. However, only S. enterica causes the disease in human. So this bacteria is also called as Salmonella typhi. Okay, Salmonella typhi. So the bacteria is motile. Okay, motile. So it can ferment glucose with acid and gas. Also can produce hydrogen sulfide. Can grow easily. Okay, so it can also survive. So it can also survive so it can also survive outside. So it is resistant to bias and dyes. Okay. So salmonella is a normal delta in cattle, poultry, rodent, reptile. So that's why so the chicken is widely so the many chicken has salmonella because this is beta in the chicken. So the salmonellosis can induce salmonella can cause disease is called salmonellosis. Okay, salmonellosis can have the symptoms of high fever. Okay, and septicemia. Okay. So mild case would be the vomiting, diarrhea, and mucosal irritation. Can cause the blood stool. So the people may have the latent period of 2 to 5 days. Okay. So the death is rare. Okay, death is rare, except the patient who has lower immunocompetence. So how salmonella causes disease? Because salmonella can attach to the GI tract mucosa and generate the endotoxin. So here we have a concept of ID50. ID50 is the measurement of how many microorganisms that can cause disease. Salmonella has a high ID50, means so the people need ingest a lot of microorganisms to cause disease. So when the human eats meat or milk that contaminated with salmonella, so that will cause problem. Also the eggs. Okay, and so if we eat the raw egg, so that may cause salmonellosis. So prevention is a very good process to avoid this disease. So for the salmonellosis, so we can treat the patient with the fluid and the electrolyte replication. Okay. So if the patient is immunocompromised or the disease is severe, so we can use trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole. Shingida is gram-negative rho, normal tire, no endospore forming. Okay, does not produce urease and hydrogen sulfide. So the human is the most important host for Shingida. Okay, however, the apes can also get it. Shingida can cause the frequent watery stool, fever, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting. Okay. Also, the most important characteristics of the Shingida is dysentery. Dysentery means blood diarrhea. Okay, blood diarrhea. So the Shingida invades the villus sphere of the large intestine. So normally, Shingida doesn't cause the perforation of the intestine. So it can invade the perio patch. Okay, perio patch is mucous lymphoid tissue of the GI tract. Shingida release the endotoxin, cause fever. So it also release enterotoxin. Exotoxin can damage the mucosa and the villi. Okay, cause diarrhea. Shigatoxin is responsible. Is responsible of damaging to the intestine and cause systemic infection. So this is the colonoscopy picture of the large intestine. So this is normal people. Okay. So this is the Shingida patients we can see. So this is called blood diarrhea because the Shingida causes the destruction of the mucosa. So the transmission is through the fecal oral route. Can be caused by person-to-person contact. Okay, so it doesn't require high ID50. Okay, low dose is enough for 10 to 200 bacteria can cause disease. So Shingida can cause chronic malnutrition, lax sanitation. So the Shingida can be spread in the daycare, prison, and the nursing home, military camp. Some people may have Shingida for long term, so this is a chronic case. Can last several months. So the good prevention is good hygiene. Okay, to avoid this bacteria. So Shingida should be treated with antibiotics such as trimethoxam, sulfamethoxazole. Okay. We can also use ciprofloxacin in the resistant case. Shingles toxin produce E. coli. That's because those type of E. coli get the Shingles gene, so they can generate the Shingles toxin. So the most famous is the O157H7. So it also referred as Shingles toxin produced E. coli, STEC. So this type of E. coli can cause severe symptoms such as bloody diarrhea, okay, nausea, vomiting. It can also cause hemolytic uremic syndrome. That means patient can have the hemolytic anemia, okay, and kidney damage and so the renal failure, okay. It can also cause neurologic symptoms such as blindness, seizure, stroke. So these severe symptoms are caused by the Shingles toxin, okay. So this is identical to the Shingles exotoxin. So this gene actually is transmitted by the bacteriophage to the E. coli. So Shingles toxin can inhibit protein synthesis of the target cell and cause the symptoms. So the transmission route is through the oral route, okay? So if a patient consumes the contaminated or uncooked beef, so that will cause this problem. So the So in 2015, so two distinct E. coli outbreaks. So this is O26, E. coli O12 and E. coli O26. Break out in from the Kansas City. Okay. So how to diagnose STEC? So we don't have to do the stool culture to culture this bacteria because actually it's time consuming. Okay. However, if we need for the differentiation diagnosis, we can do the stool culture, and we also can test for the Shingles toxin. So the clinic can send samples to the local health department for the testing. So the prevention actually is good hygiene. Okay. So the Shingles toxin is heat labeled. Okay, and however the E. coli can be killed by heat. So in this case, actually, it's not a good idea to use to treat the patient with antibiotics, because antibiotics can cause lysis of bacteria and release more toxins. So the most important treatment is supportive therapy. So we give patient fluid, electrolytes, and let the patient recover by themselves. So other type of E. coli. So we also have the enterotoxigenic E. coli, enteroinvasive E. coli, enteropathogenic E. coli, diffusely adhering E. coli, and interoaggregative E. coli. Campylobacter is also one of the most common bacteria-caused diarrhea in United States. The symptom would be similar, like the watery stool, fever, vomiting, abdominal pain, headache. Patient may have 2 weeks of symptoms. So the symptoms are caused by the Campylobacter jejuni. Okay. So this bacteria is slider curved spiral gram-negative bacteria. So it has the flagella, and the flagella provides the locomotive power for the bacteria to move. Some bacteria may have the S-shape or gone-winged appear. So the transmission actually is through the oral route. If the patient consumes the contaminated beverage or food, such as milk, meat, chicken, so it can cause this problem. So once the bacteria invaded the mucosa at the small intestine, so it can multiply in the mucosa and cause the symptoms. The toxin is heat labile enterotoxin, can cause the huge secretion from the intestine epithelium and cause the diarrhea. So the most severe symptoms that are caused by the Campylobacter is it can cause the neurologic symptoms. This is called Guillain-Barré syndrome. So it can cause the ascending paralysis of the patient. So 20 to 40% of of GBS are induced by the Campylobacter. So if a patient comes in the clinic, so the patient has GBS, so we have to ask the history of the diarrhea and the nausea, vomiting. So those GI tract symptoms to test the Campylobacter. So for the diarrhea, we can treat the patient with supportive therapy. Okay, give the patient enough fluid and electrolytes. For the severe patient, we have to use antibiotics such as erythromycin, azithromycin, because we want to use these antibiotics so so we can shorten the diseases development and also prevent the GBS. So the prevention is good hygiene, okay, and also well-cooked food, okay. Now let's talk about the Clostridium difficile. So this is gram-positive endosporal rob. Actually, this is the normal beta of the intestine. So it will not cause problem in the healthy people, okay. However, if the people take many antibiotics, so the antibiotics will kill the other beta, so C. difficile will overgrowth and cause pseudo membranous colitis. That's because this bacteria can secrete two toxins, toxin A and toxin B, okay? So both toxins can cause necrosis of the intestine epithelium. So it can cause abdominal pain, fever, leukocytosis. Since it causes the epithelium necrosis, so many pieces of the epithelium will be shed off. Okay, shed off. So we can find this loose membrane-like a patch in the stool. Okay, so that's why it's called the pseudomembranous. So this pseudomembranous is consisting of the fibrin and the serums. So this disease can be severe. It can cause the perforation of the colon. Okay, so if the perforation happens, actually, it can cause high rate of death. So 66% of C. difficile are healthcare associated. So if a patient is taking clindamycin, ceftriaxone, or the fluoroquinolone for the infections, so we have to pay attention if the patient could have the C. difficile. So in the mild C. difficile, we can use metronidazole. Okay, metronidazole. However, for the severe, we have to use vancomycin because the C. difficile is difficult to be cured. That's why it's called difficile. Okay, difficile. Some C. difficile has resistance to the vancomycin. So if that happens, so we have to use. So we don't have any antibiotics to choose. So maybe you can do the colon so the colon transplant. Okay. So since C. difficile is contagious, so if we have the patient with the C. difficile, so that patient should be isolated. Now let's talk about the Vibrio cholera. Okay, Vibrio cholera. So the Vibrio Vibrio is rob and single polar flagella. So it is so the Vibrio shares many culture and characteristics with Enterobacterius family. Okay, because it is fermentative and grows the stacked ordinary media. Have the O and H antigens. two major types are the classic and ER tall. So if the vapor invade the patient, so it need latent period is a few hours to a few days, and then the patient may have the symptoms. So this is the prompt symptoms of vomiting and copious watery so watery diarrhea. So this huge amount of diarrhea can cause patient dehydration. Okay, so it also the diarrhea also contains mucus. So this is called rice water stool. Okay, rice water stool. So the patient may lose 1 liter of fluid per hour. So that's a lot. So eventually, the patient will die from the dehydration. So severe dehydration will cause acidosis since the patient loses bicarbonate and potassium depletion. The patient can have the muscle cramp, thirsty, flaccid skin, sunken eyes, can cause the coma convulsion. So if the dehydration is very severe, the patient may have the hypertension. Okay, hypertension. So this is the symptoms of the shock. Okay, also the tachycardia, cyanosis, because patient don't have enough blood, so many tissues are in shortage of the oxygen, and eventually patient will have shock. Okay, shock. So if the patient is not treated, so the patient will be die. Okay, die in less than 48 hours. So the mortality is very high. So the vapor actually need more bacterial load to induce the disease. So the vapor can invade the mucus at the junction of duodenum and jejunum. And then, so vapor will secrete the cholera toxin. So this type of toxin can inhibit the endothelial cells function, can cause the huge secretion of the endothelium. So the patient will lose the water and the electrolytes. So the transmission is through the fecal oral route. So varia is very widely break out in certain seasons because cold, acidic, dry climates inhibit the vapors. So if it's warm, flood and alkaline, saline climates, so that we induce the outbreak of the vapor. Bacteria actually lived in the water. Okay, lived in the water. Cholera actually is the top disease that can induce the higher mortality and morbidity. So it actually affects 7 million people in Asia and Africa. In America, actually, so we also so the bacteria actually exist in the. So the bacteria can be spread by the water and food. However, the disease is relatively rare. It's relatively rare. So the prevention is to treat the water, have to set up the storage, good storage treatments. So now we have the vaccine can be used for the travelers or people who lived in the region with a high prevalence of Vibrio. So yeah, so if a patient has the cholera, so the first very important treatment is to provide the patient with enough fluid and electrolytes. However, so the best way to provide the fluid is IV fluid. Okay. However, so that requires the nurse and the health facility. However, many developing countries, many rural areas, so they don't have such conditions. So, so scientists have invented a simple sugar salt solution that the patient to drink to replace the water and electrolytes. So this is called oral rehydration therapy. Actually, so this therapy doesn't need the IV fluid. Okay, it doesn't need the nurse and the health facility. So it's widely recommended by the WHO to the developing country. So this therapy contains the mixture of sodium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, and potassium chloride, glucose, sucrose. So if a patient drink this fluid, actually, the patient can get 100 to 200 milliliter water per hour. So this is a good alternative therapy for the developing country. We can also use antibiotics to treat the patient so that will shorten the disease. So we can use doxycycline. No chloroviral species. So this is called Vibrio cells. Okay, Vibrio cells. So there are two species like the Vibrio vernificus and Vibrio parahemolyticus. So so those two microorganisms actually exist in the sea and ocean. So if patient consumes shellfish, so they may get the contamination of these bacteria. So now, so this infection is relatively common because so that's maybe due to the more harvesting of the oyster, of the global climate warming change. Okay. Actually, in the healthy people, so So those bacteria cause mild symptoms. However, it can cause severe symptoms in the immunocompromised patients. They can also cause death in those patients. Now let's talk about the cryptosporidium. So this is one type of protozoa, okay, protozoa of the apicomplexan type. So this protozoa can be widely found in mammals, birds, and reptiles. So if the meat of the cattle, pig, chicken, and other poultry are contaminated by this bacteria, so the human may get the infection. So the symptom is the same, like headache, vomiting, nausea, cramping, diarrhea. So the AIDS patient may have the chronic disease induced by this bacteria. So the cryptosporidium actually, so if human eat the oocyst of this bacteria, then the oocyst will reach to the intestine and release the sporozoites, so that will touch the epithelium of the small intestine. So the sporozoite can penetrate the intestine cells and live in the inside of the cells. So after asexual and sexual reproduction, so these cells can be released to the gut, and then so the oocysts will be expelled from our body in the sac, and then so they can be contaminated the food and cause infection for another patient. So we can use ELISA and acid-fast staining to detect this bacteria. We can also do the stool culture, however, it's very time-consuming. So the swimming pool can also be contaminated by this bacteria. So also the chlorination is not entirely successful to get rid of this bacteria. So that's why it's better to filtrate the water to get rid of this bacteria. So the treatment, so you can give the patient with a supportive therapy, such as fluid electrolytes. Also, you can use anti-diarrhea medications. So now we don't have any medication to cure the cryptosporidium. Some physicians may try the nitazoxanide. Okay. Now let's talk about the rotavirus. So this is a member of the reovirus group. So this is double RNA virus. So the shape is spoked V. Okay. So it can cause morbidity and mortality due to the diarrhea. So in United States, actually, each year it costs 1 million cases. So this is a very common disease in the world. So the transmission is to the fecal oral route. So if the food is contaminated, the water is contaminated, so patient may get infections. So the most important prevention is good hygiene and good sanitation conditions. Symptoms, so this depends on the age and the immunity stage. So the babies from 6 to 24 months are easy to get this infection because the baby will not get enough antibodies from the mama milk. Okay. So especially the IgA, okay, because IgA is highly concentrated in the milk in the first 3 months, okay. So it can cause watery diarrhea, fever, vomiting, so if this is the chronic cases, it can cause malnutrition. So if so the malnutrition in baby actually can cause retard growth, okay, can let the baby has very low growth rate. However, in adults, so the symptoms is mild and self-limiting. Norovirus is the second most common cause American hospitalization from a food-borne disease. It's 5 times more than the salmonella cases. Okay. So the ID50 actually is very low. The transmission is also the fecal oral route through the contaminated food and water. Symptoms is the watery diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. The treatment is the supportive therapy. So we provide the patient with plenty of water. Food poisoning. So if a patient has nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, so we have to ask the patient's history. So if a patient history shows that they consume meal before these symptoms, so we have to suspect that this is food poisoning. Okay, because certain bacteria can produce the toxin to cause this problem, such as Staphylococcus aureus, Bacillus cereus, and Clostridium perfringens. Okay, no microbial sources such as fish, shellfish, and mushroom. So this is disease induced by the toxin. Okay. So the symptoms would be bad, okay, would be violent. So the incubation time is very short. So this is the characteristics of this disease. So the patient can get the disease very quickly after the meal. Now let's talk about the Staphylococcus aureus. So Staphylococcus aureus can secrete the exotoxin. So the food can be contaminated by the exotoxin. For example, it's very easy so the food of the custard, sauces, cream, pastries, yeah, even the meat, chickens, salad, hams. So these are the foods can get the contamination of this toxin very easily. Okay. So if patient consume this food, or even the food are left on the room temperature for a few hours, so those bacteria can grow and secrete the endotoxin. So even the high salt preserved food can also be contaminated by this toxin. So the toxin is heat stable. Okay, heat stable. So it requires 100 degree for at least 30 minutes. So that means even we cook the food, however, that may not the good process to prevent this disease, because if the cook is not long enough, so the toxin is not still is not eliminated yet. Okay. So once patient ingested the toxin, so the toxin can actually act on the GI tract epithelium and cause limited the nerves, cause cramping, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. So the recovery is rapid, normally within 24 hours. Since the Staphylococcus aureus is the beta in our hands and nose, so this is very common disease. It's a very common foodborne disease. Actually, since this disease is induced by toxin, actually, so antibiotics doesn't work to treat this disease. Bacillus cereus. Bacillus cereus is a sporulating gram-positive bacteria. So it can be found on the vegetables and other products. So once patient consume the vegetables contaminated with this bacteria, so that may cause that can cause diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea. So the patient may have the vomiting. Okay, vomiting, and patient can have the vomiting, diarrhea. So the fried rice, is one kind of food that can be contaminated by this bacteria very easily. Okay, so if we keep the fried rice in the warm temperature for a longer time, so it may be contaminated by this bacteria and have the toxin. So toxin is heat stable toxin. So that's why even even the cook may not eliminate the toxin. So the diarrhea form of this disease, diarrhea form of it is associated with meat, vegetables that kept at a warm temperature for a long time. So this is actually so this is induced by the heat labile toxin. So this is so the symptoms is watery diarrhea, can last for 24 hours. So the prevention actually, so there's handling of food. So we need so the best way is to keep the food in the refrigerator and cook the food very bare. Clostridium perfringens. So Clostridium perfringens is a gram-positive sporulating bacteria. So this bacteria can generate endospore. So the endospore can contaminate many types of food, such as meat, fish, vegetables, beans. So even we cook the food, however, so the endospore can induce can induce the high temperature. So so this not says that so cook is not the process can eliminate those bacteria. So after cook, so endospore can germinate and grows again. So that means if we don't cook enough, so the food still contains this bacteria. So when we eat those bacteria, so we get infection of C. perfringens. Okay, so it can invade the intestine and release the endotoxin. So the endotoxin can cause the epithelium cells to heal. To produce huge secretion and induce abdominal pain, diarrhea, nausea in 8 to 16 hours. So the recovery is rapid. So once the toxin is eliminated by our defecation, so the patient will be recovered. Okay. So C. perfringens also cause enterocolitis. So it's similar to the C. difficile. Okay. Now let's talk about the chronic diarrhea. Chronic diarrhea means the diarrhea lasts more than 14 days. Okay. So it can be infectious causes. So it can be infectious causes or non-infectious causes. Okay. For example, non-infectious causes. So we have the irritable bowel syndrome and ulcerative colitis. So both are the autoimmune diseases. So they are not induced by the microorganisms. So the AIDS patient may also have the chronic diarrhea. So that chronic diarrhea is induced by the Cryptosporidium and Mycobacterium albium. So that's why AIDS patient, many AIDS patients have chronic diarrhea. Now let's talk about the enteroaggregative E. coli. So this is associated with the chronic disease, especially in the children. So this type of E. coli actually can adhere to the human cells. Okay. So it can So it can cause secretion of a large amount of mucus. So this is one type of chronic diarrhea. Cyclospora catanensis. So this is one type of protozoan. So the first case is diagnosed in 1979. Since 1990, so it becomes common. So the transmission is through the fecal-oral route. For example, if the people consume the fresh product of the water contaminated with this protozoa, so the patient will get infections. So the spread is from person to person. So the food so the food that can cause this bacteria normally are the raspberries, salad made from the fresh greens, so the and the drinking waters. Now let's talk about the Giardia. Okay, Giardia. So this is protozoa with the flagellum. Okay, so it was observed firstly by the Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. So Leeuwenhoek is one of the two scientists that invented the microscope. So when Leeuwenhoek invented the microscope, he used the microscope to observe his fact and found he had this infection. So the symptoms actually is the diarrhea. Okay, so if the patient is untreated, so the diarrhea would be a chronic diarrhea. So the patient may have the symptoms for a long time. Also, patient has abdominal pain, flatulence. Okay, so stool has greasy, full-smearing quality. So the fever, the patient may not have fever because the jelly actually so Giardia doesn't generate a toxin. Okay, so the transmission actually is through the fecal oral route. So the Giardia can also infect the beavers, the cattle, coyotes, cats. So the trophozoa and cysts can be found in the stool of these animals. Also, Giardia can also survive for 2 months in the environment. So that's why. So if the protozoa contaminates the water and the food, so that will be the source to cause the human infection. So the ID50 is low. Okay, just 10 cysts can cause infection. Now we have the vaccine to against Giardia. Okay, so we can treat the Giardia to the animal such as dogs. However, we don't have human vaccine yet. So the prevention would be the good hygiene. Okay, also we had to cook. So we had to boil the water that we drink. Okay. Also, for the vegetables, so we had to clean and cook the vegetables before we eat. So if patient has infections, so we can use tenidazole and nitazoxanide. In so it's widely it's widely exists in the environment. Okay, and it is one common parasite in animals. So it can cause serious pathologies, serious disease. So the amoeba that can cause human disease is called Entamoeba histolytica. So this is one of the most significant pathogenic amoeba. So the trophozoite of amoeba actually is multi-pseudopause. So it has a large single nucleus that contains prominent nucleolus called caryosome. So the matrocyst is encased in a thin yet so wall. Okay, contains 4 nucleus and 4 single-shaped chromatoidal body. So this is a diagram shows the life cycle of the amoeba. So this is matrocyst. This is trophozoite. So the amoeba invaded the cecum, appendix, colon, and rectum. The amoebas secrete enzymes that will dissolve the tissues, penetrate the mucus, and cause ulceration. So it can cause dysentery. Okay, so the bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain, fever, and weight loss. So if the dysentery is very bad, so it can cause actually it can cause hemorrhage. Okay, it can cause huge hemorrhage and perforation of the intestine. It can also cause appendicitis and tumor like those called amoebomas. Amoebomas is tumor like. So the patient will have a huge bump in the intestine. So one surgery. So when the doctor do the surgery, actually they found this is not tumor. Actually, so this bump induced by the amoebas. So amoeba can also invade the other organs other than the intestine. Okay, so it can invade the viscera of the peritoneal cavity, and then the amoeba can invade the liver, cause the abscess in the liver. So the abscess contains necrotic tissues and trophozoite of amoeba. Amoeba also can invade the lungs and cause pulmonary amoebiasis. And then amoeba can also invade the spleen, adrenal, kidney, skin, and brain. So if those organs are invasive, so amoeba may cause 10% death. Okay. So the transmission is through the fecal-oral route. Once amoeba contaminates the water and food, so if people consume the contaminated food and water, so people may get infections. Okay. Actually, many people actually have the amoeba, however, they don't have the symptoms. This is called a symptomatic carrier. So, so it is estimated that 1/10 of people may be the carrier. Okay. So each year the cause 100,000 people dies. So that's a lot. So the amoeba is very prevalent in Africa, Asia, Latin America. So especially when those countries don't have good public health facilities, so the people defecate in the environments. So so the amoeba can be spread and contaminate the food and water. So the sanitation of water and food is very important. So in America, actually, the amoeba is relatively rare. Okay. However, so scientists estimate that 10 million people may be the carrier. So the prevention is the good hygiene, is the purification water, boiling the water, and chlorination the water. Even the chlorination doesn't kill the cyst. However, so the best way is boiling the water. So the patient, we can use metronidazole and chloroquine. Okay. We can also use dihydroamidine to control the symptoms. We can also provide the supportive therapy to give patient plenty of fluid and electrolytes. Now let's talk about the oral infections. So the bacteria in mouse actually can generate the beer film. So beer film actually can attract more bacteria colonize. Okay. So the most common disease in the mouth is the dental cavity. So this is defect of the tooth due to the bacteria. So the bacteria is also called a sugar bug. So the disruption of the tooth can be from the enamel surface or to the root of the tooth, or even can so it can completely destroy the enamel. Okay. Or destroy the deeper layers such as the tooth root. So once the destruction reaches to the deep layer, so it can irrigate the nerve and cause tooth pain. So this is called the toothache. So we can see here. So bacteria can completely disrupt the inner ear, okay, inner ear, and then reach to the deeper layers. So the Streptococcus mutant was thought the major bacteria caused this problem. So actually, now the scientists found many bacteria also can cause the problem. So the major cause can induce bacterial overgrowth is sugar, carbohydrates. So if there are too many sucrose in the mouth, sugars in the mouth, so the S mutant and other bacteria can cause the sticky polymers like the biofilm on the tooth. So that will facilitate the other bacteria to colonize, and then so those bacteria has the capacity of fermentation, so they can ferment the carbohydrates to generate the acid. Okay, so acid can destroy the enemy. The transmission, actually, the bacteria are transmitted to the babies or children by the close contact, such as kiss, okay, or by the kiss of mother and caregiver. So the scientists have found the evidence of the transmission in the daycare, okay, daycare. So once the dentist finds the cavity on the tooth, so that's enough to make the diagnosis. So we don't have to do the culture of the bacteria. So the treatment, so the prevention is good oral hygiene. Okay, stop consuming too much carbohydrates. Okay, and regular brushing, flossing. So flossing actually, this flossing contains the fluorides. Okay, so the fluoride actually can stabilize the enemy and promote the re so the remineralization of the teeth. However, if a patient has a cavity, so the treatment is remove all the infection parts and fill the cavity with artificial material. Periodontal disease. So it's very common. It's very common. It's about 97 to 100% of population over age 45 have this disease. So this is induced by the bacterial colonization, and the inflammation induced by bacteria. Periodontitis. The first is gingivitis. So gingivitis is the initial stage of periodontal disease. So the symptom is swelling, loss of the gums, and patch of redness, bleeding of the gums, increase the spaces and pockets between the teeth. So if the gingivitis persists, so the patient has periodontitis. So the patient has increased the pocket in the gum, okay, and cause the bone resorption. So the teeth are loosened, okay. So eventually, the teeth will be lost. So the gingivitis and periodontitis are induced by a bunch of microorganisms. So those microorganisms generate the biofilm and form the plaque, so that induce gingivitis. So once the plaque is mineralized, so this is called calculus. So the calculus will cause a series of inflammation, so that eventually damage the heart. So we can provide the patient with routine teeth cleaning to remove the calculus and plaque. So the patient also need to maintain a good oral hygiene, such as brushing and flossing the teeth frequently. For some patients, we may also use antibiotics to kill the bacteria in the mouth. And also, we can use surgery to replace to reduce the pocket. Now let's talk about the mumps. So the incubation period is 2 to 3 weeks. It can cause fever, nasal discharge, muscle pain, and malaise. Okay. So this is the infection of the parotid. So patient may have the swelling of the parotid. So the swelling of the salivary glands. So this is gopher-like swelling of cheek. So this is called parotitis. So this is a viral disease. So the virus infects the salivary glands. So the virus may also invade the other organs. Actually, the disease is the disease is mild, is CF limited. However, so it can cause significant problem in the young males. So it can infect epididymis and testes. However, most of the infection cause just one site, just related one site. It causes otitis and epididymitis. So the patient may have the pain of the testes. Most of the patients will not have permanent damage on their testes. However, some will get the permanent damage on the testes and cause infertility. So the human is the only host of the mumps. So the transmission is from the contact, such as salivary and respiratory secretion. So this disease happened in the children under age 15, and 40%, 40% patient don't have symptoms. So since most patients are young, so this is widely common in the college campus. So the treatment is supportive therapy such as relieve fever, dehydration, and decrease pain. So we have vaccine. So we can provide the kids with vaccine at 12 or 15 months, boost at 4 to 6 years. Gastritis and gastric ulcer is they are induced by the Helicobacter. So this is the curve of the gram-negative drops, and this bacteria was detected by John Robin Warren in 1979. So Dr. Warren got the Nobel Prize based his first discovery of this bacteria. Gastritis, so the patient may have sharp burning pain from abdominal, okay. The patient may also have gastric peptic ulcers. The ulcers may be found in the stomach or the small intestine or the duodenum, okay. So the ulcers can cause the bloody stool, vomiting, or both. Can the patient can omit the blood, okay. So the patient often have the pain at night after eating or under the stress, okay. So the bacteria can also cause gastric cancer. So once the bacteria get into the GI tract, so bacteria can invade the mucus layer and stay there, live there, and then bacteria can generate a certain enzyme to produce the urease, okay, urease, and then break down the urea, and to generate the carbon dioxide and ammonia. So scientists also found that spicy food, high sugar diet, and stress can also cause the gastritis and ulcer. So the Helicobacter pylori actually is transmitted through the oral and fecal-oral route. So the bacteria actually can damage the stomach mucosa, okay. So the prevention would be the personal hygiene, okay, good personal hygiene. So we can use some medication to decrease the symptoms such as acid neutralizer, okay. However, the best treatment is to give the antibiotics to kill this bacteria. So we can use clarithromycin and metronidazole. So we can use this for 1 month to kill this bacteria. Now let's talk about the hepatitis. So this is inflammation in the liver that can cause the swelling and disrupt of the liver structure. The patient may have the jaundice. Jaundice is the yellow of the skin and the eyes, induced by the high temperature, high concentration of bilirubin. So many agents can cause this problem, such as virus. So these are the cytomegalovirus, EB virus, and GBVC. Okay, and hepatitis virus A through E. Certain substances can also cause the hepatitis, such as drugs, alcohols. Also, the autoimmune disease can cause the hepatitis. Now let's focus on the hepatitis A and E virus. So this is a single-strand non-enveloped RNA virus. So the transmission route is the fecal-oral route. So this is minor CF-limited hepatitis. HEV hepatitis. So if HEV infects a pregnant woman, however, it can cause 10 to 30% of pregnant women dies. Okay. So HEV is also dangerous for the patient with the it's also dangerous for the people with the low immunocompetence, such as the patient has organ transplant, or the patient are using immunosuppressive medications. So the patient may have the vague flu-like symptoms. Also, patient has jaundice, swelling liver. So even the virus doesn't induce cancer, however, it's still weird. Okay. So the prevention is good personal hygiene and the good public health facilities. So in many developing countries, so these countries don't have good sewage control. So so the hepatitis A and E virus is actually widely outbreak. So the transmission can be through the close contact, unhygienic food handling, and eating the shellfish, sexual transmission, or travel to that countries. Hepatitis A can also be transmitted through blood. Okay, through blood transfusion. So in developing countries, so most patients are the children. So in America and Europe, actually, so most patients are adults. So hepatitis A and E actually are not the chronic disease. So this is relatively mild and CF-limited disease. So the prevention, so we have the vaccine can be used to prevent hepatitis A. We can also use immunoglobulin to provide the passive immunity for the hepatitis A. So this is used for the people who has the close contact with the patients. Also, can be used the people who have eaten at the restaurants that were source of the hepatitis A. Now let's talk about the hepatitis B and D. Hepatitis B is the enveloped DNA virus. So the intact virus are called DAN particles. The genome is particle double strand and partly single strand. Hepatitis D is the enveloped RNA virus. So this virus can cause damage to the liver cells. It can cause the fever, chills, malaise, anorexia, abdominal discomfort, diarrhea, nausea, okay, rashes. So HBV can cause serious symptoms, even death. Some patients may also have the glomerulonephritis and the arterial inflammations. However, so if the HBV doesn't destruct the liver structure, so actually most people can recover completely because so the regeneration of the liver cells is very strong. So if the structure is intact, so the patient will get completely recovered. However, a small number of patients will develop to the chronic liver disease with cirrhosis of the liver. So eventually, HBV can cause liver cancer. So if the children get infections, so most likely children will get chronic infections. For example, 90% of neonates at birth, in fact, at birth, and 30% of children will get the chronic infection. So the men have the higher chance to get the chronic infection than women. So mortality is relatively high. Okay, it's 15 to 25% for the chronic patients. So the hepatitis transmission is through the broken skin or the injection to the bloodstream. So once the HPV invaded the liver cells, so HPV will grow in the cells and then cause the cells dies and then release more virus to the blood. So the incubation period is 2 to 24 weeks. HPV can also be transmitted through the sexual contact. That's because HBV can be secreted through the semen and the vaginal secretion. So the vertical transmission is also possible. So the mother can transmit it to the neonates. So HBV can also cause the healthcare providers, healthcare workers infection. So, for example, so the needle stick. Okay, needle stick is also the transmission route for the virus. So that's why healthcare workers are required to have the full HPV vaccination. So the HPV can actually can still survive 4 days in the dried blood, or even months in the stored serum. So that's why. So that's why. So we need heat the most objects to eliminate this virus. So disinfection process could be the chlorine, iodine, and glutathione. So we can use the blood test to test the virus antigen and antibodies to make a diagnosis. ELISA, we can so ELISA is very good tool to detect the HPV. So the prevention is the vaccine. Okay, so now vaccine is widely used for all the healthcare workers, students, old people. Okay, so now it's routinely recommended for the newborn. Okay, so that means every people get the vaccine. So when they are born. So if the patient have the close contact with the patients or exposed to the HPV, so we can use the immunoglobulin. Okay, so the hepatitis B immunoglobulin to provide the passive immunization. We can also use this globulin to the babies after birth from the infected mother. So mild, so for the patient, if the patient has mild symptoms, so we can just use supportive therapy. Okay. We also have some medication can inhibit the virus, such as human interferon, tenofovir, or interferon. Okay. However, so all this cannot eliminate the virus. Now let's talk about the hepatitis C. It's called the silent epidemic. So more than 3.5 million Americans are infected. So why the cause silent epidemic? Because the incubation time is very long. It's very long. So it's many years. Okay. So the hepatitis C can cause liver failure. Okay, liver failure. So hepatitis C induced liver failure is the most common reason for the liver transplant. So the hepatitis C is the RNA virus. So we can use the blood test for the antibodies to detect this virus, such as ALESA, right? So the symptoms. So the symptoms. Hepatitis C has many common symptoms with hepatitis B. So many patients can be chronic patients. Hepatitis C can induce cancer. So in America, hepatitis B is major causes that induce liver cancer. However, in the other country, so this hepatitis B virus is the major cause for the liver cancer. So the transmission route is similar to the hepatitis B, is through the blood transfusion or the injection through the bloodstream. Okay. So now we don't have vaccine for hepatitis C yet. However, so we have two medications that can be used to treat hepatitis C. So that's sofosbuvir, okay, sofosbuvir, and ledipasvir. Now let's work on this question. Identify each of the following organisms as either causes of acute and chronic diarrhea. So I give you 5 seconds. Okay, so we can see cyclosporal. Actually, this is chronic. Okay. E. coli 157 is acute. Campylobacter jejuni is acute. Giardia lumbria is chronic. Vibrio cholerae is acute. Now let's talk about the helminths. Okay. So we have different helminths such as some helminths are visible because they are huge. Okay. Like the tapeworm, roundworm. Okay. However, some helminths are invisible because they are tiny. So the helminths actually is the here's the problem that so that the human has for 1,000 years. Okay. So the helminths can cause eosinophilia. So that means increase of the increase of the eosinophilia in the blood. So this is the characteristics of the helminthic infection. So the transmission route is the fecal-oral route. Most of infection are through the fecal-oral route. However, some portion is through the direct penetration of the skin. So most helminths spend their lives in the intestinal tract. So we have 4 type of transmission: cycle A, cycle B, cycle C, cycle D. Cycle A is fecal oral. Cycle B is through the penetration of the skin. Cycle C is through the fecal meat. Okay, fecal meat. So it needs the intermediate host. So cycle D has the penetration and the fecal route, fecal oral. So the helminths actually need to get nutrients from our body. Also, so the helminths can move and reproduce. So they can reproduce eggs and release to the fat of the human. So when they invade the host, so they can attach to the intestine. Okay, attach to the endothelium of the intestine. They can penetrate the tissues, so that can induce the host immunity defense. So the definitive host is the host in which the adult worm is found. Okay, so the human could be accidental definitive host for the helminths. So the intermediate host, that means so that's a host for the larva stage of the helminths. So the human can be the intermediate host as well. Okay. So the diagnosis, most common diagnosis is the OMP test. It is a microscopic examination of the stool to look for the ova or parasites. And we can take blood to count the eosinophil. Okay. We can also do the ELISA test to test the helminth antigen. The prevention, actually, for most helminths, we don't have the vaccine yet. So the prevention is good. Personal hygiene. Okay. We also have the medication to treat the helminths. Actually, we can prophylactic treat the people twice a year to prevent the helminth infections. So actually, so those anti-helminthic medications has very low side effect to human. So actually, it's safe. Now let's talk about the Interobius vermicularis. So this is called a pinworm or the seat worm. So the transmission is cycle A. So So the people may get the hermit's egg in their fingernails. So the patient may consume the eggs from contaminated food or drinks, and then the egg will germinate in the small intestine and release larvae and migrate to the large intestine. So the symptom would be the anal itching, because the female will migrate to the anus to lay eggs. So the infection. So the symptoms, the most worst symptom is anal itching. So otherwise, so the patient will not have any symptoms. So that's why most patients are the children. Okay. So the children, so the anal itching can disrupt the children's sleeping. Okay. The children may also have nausea, diarrhea. So the diagnosis, so we can use the tape to scratch the anal skin to get so the hermetic eggs sticky on the tape, and then we can observe under microscope. If we find the eggs, so we can make our diagnosis. So if one children have the problem, actually the whole family should get the treatment. Okay, because if we just treat just one family member, so the hermits can also be cross infected to each other. Now let's talk about the Trichoris trichiura. So this is bigworm. This is type A left there. So the symptom would be the localized hemorrhage of the brow caused by the worms, dysentery, and loss of muscle tons. Then let's talk about the Diphyllobothrium latum. So this is the largest human tapeworm. It can be 30 feet. This is cycle C left there. So this is common in the Great Lakes, Alaska, Canada. So the human actually is the definitely a host. So the hermits invade the intestine and cause long-term symptoms. Transmission through the raw food such as sushi and food made from the salmon. Okay. Heminolepsy species. So this is a small tapeworm. This is cycle C left there. So the intestinal distress accompanied by the migraine symptoms, actually, so this, so when the hermits invade the body, so they will mature to the, so they will develop and mature to the and become to the mature womb in the intestine, and then migrate to the circulatory lymphatic symptoms, travel to the heart or lungs, and then travel to the respiratory trees. Then they can so they can be so they can be so they can be re-ingested by swallowing. So the first worm is Tania solium. Okay, so Tania solium is the tapeworm. So the adult worm can be 5 meters long. So it's very long. So it has scolex. So they can use scolex. So the scolex has a hook. So they can use that to attach to the intestine. So the worm has cycloseed upstairs. So if a patient consumes fresh animal meat, contaminated fresh animal meat, and then the patient may get an infection. For example, the pig tapeworm actually is very common in the world. Actually, the Tania solium can infect the pig, and then the eggs hatched in the small intestine, and then so the larvae can migrate through the other organs and becomes uncyst in the muscle. So the insect is the infective stage for human. So this is called cysticerci. So one human ingests this live cysticerci, so human will get infection. Cysticercosis. So this means the human will become the host of the uncystated larvae and leading a condition called, so this is called cysticercosis. So this is one of the five neglected parasitic infections in the United States. So it's widely common in the Latin America. In the Latin America. So once the larvae becomes uncyst in the brain, they can cause neurocysticercosis. Okay, so the patient may have the neurological symptoms such as seizures. Schistosomiasis. So this is liver disease. Okay. So the patient may have the liver swelling and malfunction. So the patient have this disease for 1,000 years. So this is induced by the Schistosoma mosoni and Schistosoma japonica. So it can cause swelling of the liver. So this is called hepatomegaly. And the liver disease can also cause the swelling of the spleen. It's called splenomegaly. So the egg can also be carried to the nervous system and heart and cause granulomatosis in the nervous system and heart. So this will be fatal. So the schistosomes are the trematode or the fluke. So they are the cylindric shape. They are also called blood flukes. Okay. So the human as the definitive host. The snares are the intermediate host. Schistosomiasis. So it can actually use the proteins, use the human proteins to code themselves. That's why, so they can avoid the host immunity attack. Schistosomiasis is cycle D left there. Okay. Now let's work on this question. Which of following organisms follow life for cycle C? I give you 5 seconds. The correct answer is C. Okay, Tania solium. Okay, so this is the appendix. This is end.